Hey guys, King Kaiju here with another Kaiju review. Today's is on another Hiya figure, which I actually ironically got right after the Godzilla review I did from Hiya Toys, but this one's on a much different figure. Today we are going to be looking at the Hiya Toys Rodan from King of the Monsters. Before I even hop into the detail or anything like that, I should mention two things. For one thing, this is the paint upgraded iteration. It does have a specific name, but I'm not going to remember that, nor it is irrelevant for this video. It's in the title if you really care that much. And the second thing of note is that this guy is on a stand, and he probably will be for the majority of this review. I'm sure if you've seen any of my other Kaiju reviews, you know that I like to get pretty handsy with my figures most of the time whenever I'm turning them around and stuff like that. This guy, on the other hand, he can't really stand that well on his own, and I don't really want to have him in my hand the entire review, so instead I'm going to rely on the included stand. That's all I really have to say, so I'm going to get right into the detail of this guy. Just giving him a quick 360, you can see that Hiya sculpted him fantastically, again because I'm pretty sure they used the model from the actual King of the Monsters film. Translates very, very well as per usual. Some of you might be wondering what the original Hiya Toys Rodan looked like if this is supposedly the upgrade. Well, I'll throw in some pictures here and there, and as you can see, I'm going to get into one of my biggest gripes with the figure here, and it's the paint job. First of all, let me just say, by itself, it is fantastic. Like, as you can see on the back of the wings here, everything looks great. The front, let me hold it up to where the light actually hits it, looks very, very good. Every little part of him is painted great. My only real gripe is the fact that compared to the original release, I feel like this one is a lot duller looking. Now, there is a reason for that I'll get into here in a second, but for a figure that is supposedly a paint upgrade, really, it doesn't look too much like one. You'd actually think this is the first release of the figure, which I did at first too whenever I pulled them out. However, no, this is actually the second release of the figure, and yeah, I don't think it looks as good as the original one. I'll just say that. The reason for this is because most of the paint on the figure is actually meant for an included feature that he has, and it's if you have a UV light. Now, for reference, I do not own a UV light, nor am I going to buy one just to show this to you. I'll put up some pictures. But most of this paint here is a UV reactant paint, meaning that it glows in UV light. In my opinion, it's a very useless feature. I could get it if Rodan in the movie had something similar to that look. If he like reacted to UV light in the film, that would kind of make sense, or if he glowed in the dark, something like that. But Rodan doesn't do that. He's just a firebird, essentially. I don't really get the whole point of that gimmick. It didn't make a ton of sense to me, still doesn't, and in my opinion the paint job on the figure is one of the bigger flaws it has, just because it's not as good as the original one, and I feel like most of that went towards the UV paint. But just taking it as how it is, not comparing it to the original, this guy does look very, very good. There is a lot of good dry brushing on it, and I mean on all of him. All of his wings are painted, every little scale crevice that he has is painted. This includes the mouth, which if I carefully open it up, you can actually see the tongue is also painted, which looks really good. Everything in there looks fantastic. So yeah, the paint job, while not as good as the original, I think is serviceable by itself. I think the gimmick that he has is completely useless, but that's just me. Other than that, detailing is great. I will take him off of his stand for articulation because I feel like that is the one section I can probably get away with holding the figure the entirety of. His head can look left to right, up and down, all considerably much. I feel like he actually is a little bit more expressive up here than Godzilla even was, but I will say that I think the mouth joint could have definitely opened wider. So you can actually make it open a little bit wider, but that actually brings it out of its joint a little bit. It's hard to see, but on this side you can see a little bit of orange in there. That orange is actually the main plastic. And whenever I tried to open his mouth even further, because even in my opinion this is kind of pathetic, it actually fell out. And I felt like I broke it at first, but thankfully it can just pop right back in and it's fine. I don't know. I would have liked it if he had more of a mouth articulation in there, but for now that's serviceable. The wings can move. They are on ball joints at the base, and Hiya Toys did this with their first release and it looks just as good here. There is actually a bend bendy wire in both wings, so if you want to, you can get his wings to fold back. You can maybe even get him into a walking position, but of course the way that I like to do it is I like to do the infamous barrel roll. That looks really, really nice. Those bendy wires really, really help out, and to my knowledge, they are very sturdy too. I haven't heard any reports of these breaking on anyone, although I would recommend caution just because bendy wires usually do. There is a surprisingly good midsection joint, which works very well for an ab crunch. In my opinion, that's one of the best ab crunches I've ever seen on an articulated Godzilla figure. The legs move at the base, the knees, and the ankles, as you would expect, and the tail is on a ball joint. Surprisingly limited one also, but it works fine. So yeah, articulation's pretty good. I don't think it's as good as any SH Monster Arts figure, but it works well enough for what it is. I think that it looks pretty good. My main complaints are just the mouth being as fragile and also limited as it is. I just feel like it could have opened up more without, you know, popping out the joint. And the tail could have maybe used a little bit more, but nah, that's really just me nitpicking. All right, putting him back, we're going to do sizing. I'll start off with his contemporary in that film, which is Mothra. I'll hold her up for this. I feel like it's fitting, and they actually look surprisingly good next to each other. I didn't really feel like they would at first, but the Playmates Mothra actually scales pretty well with them. You can even get them in that pose whenever they're fighting against the building. Yeah, it looks really good. I really like how they size next to each other. I'll go for a much more negative one now. This is the Playmates King Ghidorah, which is the only legendary King Ghidorah I own. I do apologize. And yeah, this is definitely a comparison, but not at all a good one. But let's now go into the one that's probably the best one I can do here. This is the Hiya Toys Godzilla vs. Kong Atomic Breath Godzilla. So yeah, they look actually really good next to each other. Despite Godzilla not really appearing with Rodan that much in the film, I actually think they scale really nicely next to each other. Again, because they're from the same company. But yeah, they look really nice. Moving Rodan back there in the center, that's going to conclude my review on the Hiya Toys Flameborn Rodan. He looks really, really good. He has great articulation, and he scales well with a lot of figures from different companies, besides this one. I would say that he is a perfectly serviceable Rodan figure, and he's probably one of the best ones out there on the market, although I still don't think he's as good as the original Hiya Toys version. I would say if you can, definitely go and pick that one up. It has quite a few more paint details than this guy does, and the UV gimmick, I think it's kind of useless, but that's just me yammering about it. This figure is still 5-star worthy, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.